Alright guys, so I bought a new spec BARD and I played it, and I'm not really good with it. So I asked Lostboy to grab a little bit of time so that we can talk about spec BARDs and BARDs in general, like advanced tips. Lostboy actually uses very unique skills to cover up identity gauge, and I think he also had a time where he talked with a bunch of you guys to talk about like what BARD should do, what BARD should not do, the general play styles that you guys should be looking for when you play BARD, right? So most of the time I'll be talking because I pre-talked to Lostboy about this stuff. We were gonna review like some of the advanced tips, okay? So let's start with talking and showing Lostboy's build for a second, because I'm actually interested. Lostboy does a full spec BARD, right? 1848. I have the exact same thing. So to get 1848, what you do is your default spec amount with all the side content done and the cards is 60 spec, right? 60 plus all 100 quality accessory plus a bracelet with 120 spec. That's 1848. So this is the max amount of spec that you can actually get in the game. So Swiftness BARD uses more skills on rotation so that you can fill up bubbles along with it, right? But for spec BARD though, you have a much longer cooldown. Its skill just covers much more meter in order for you to utilize the bubbles correctly. So in order for that to be efficient, you probably need higher level cooldown gem. He has level 9 gems. I don't have a level 9, so that's probably why mine's a little bit more clunky. The topic that we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk in a category of spec BARDs and what the difference is, and what makes his spec BARD viable and why mine doesn't, and why majority of the people who are playing spec BARD is kind of cut off. Because again, 3 months ago I did say I hate spec BARD. I still do hate spec BARD because it's very cheap. What is so different for Lostboy's spec BARD, and what are the other guys make it El Cheapo?
웬만하면 한국말로 할게요. 근데 질문은 영어로 하셔도 돼요.
Okay.
알았다니까.
So he's gonna say in Korean, and then I'll question in English. So covering up. So initially, other than the differences that I've explained for swiftness and spec, so spec BARDs goes along with ignition sorceresses really well. And you guys probably know why, because Saint really likes Lostboy's spec BARD, right? If ignition sorceresses timing of, igniting, and then the spec BARD gives a proper buff, the highest buff, their Doomsday's front digit changes almost. It's like that's how much efficient it is compared to going with the Swift BARD, right? However, since they are specialized within boosting burst damages, spec BARDs, right? They do lack a little bit on covering with shields, like the shield covering, because again, their cooldowns are much longer, so they can't spam as many shields as you can. As you guys see me playing with my Swiftness BARD, I spam my shields like almost 5-6 seconds of the time. But spec though, party care is a little bit lacking. It is actually for a team that is capable of not getting hit as much, right? If they want to push more DPS, make the raid to go much faster, to push more DPS, to skip like patterns and stuff, this would be like the better fit to it. What he also mentioned, which I didn't know, is so when you highlight that, it says 92.53 efficiency. It's actually not 92.53 like more damage. Apparently there's like a math behind the buff calculation. Oh, so no one knows the actual percentage, but the efficiency itself increases that much to a point that the attack buff itself, it boosts a whole bunch of more stuff. Therefore, it does work with a lot of burst classes. If you have like a spec BARD, you want to allocate the team to be along with burst classes. So Lostboy, you did say ignition sorceress, and there's a death blade, like a surge death blade, and this striker kind of fits in there too, right? To continue the chat with the classes that works really well with spec BARD, he has said he takes about 23 to 25 seconds to fill up all the bubbles to provide the best attack buffs, right? The buff itself lasts 15 seconds. So technically a classes that they get their rotation within 23 to 25 seconds, and then they burst within that 15 seconds, any class works really well. So let's say ignition sorcerers, right? To get their meters up, they take about 23 to 25 seconds, etc. And then when they ignite, which it also aligns with the 3 bubbles buff that the spec BARDs provide. So those are the cool stuff. But 23-second bubble is up. Wait, what about how long does swiftness fill up? I'm actually curious because I never calculated it.
일단 그 MJ님이랑 비교를 할게요. MJ님.
So as you guys know, our progression, we had Lustboy and then we had MJ as our bards, right? And MJ had the level 10 gem, which is better. Also, she has a very high quality swiftness accessories. So she was playing a swiftness bard and Lustboy was playing a spec bard. So he was looking at the VOD. So swiftness is like about a bubble or like a half bubble slower than spec bard. So technically, it kind of makes sense because the meter gain is a little different.
바드 POV 방송 자주 하는데 가장 많이 받는 질문 중 하나가
Lustboy wanted to talk about, so when he streams Bard POV, when he does a progression with Saint, most of you guys ask why spec bards don't go expert, right? He wants to answer that question for you guys. So he's gonna get the 1 bubble worth of heal right now. So as he said, since the stat spec itself increases the efficiency of heals to a point that you don't really need expert to cover it up. But everyone just goes like, oh, you must go expert, you must go expert. But however, like let's say if you go expert, won't you heal more? What about that, Lustboy?
1버블 절구로도 이미 오버힐인데
Right.
굳이 갈 필요가 있나 싶기는 해요.
Correct, because if 1 bubble heal over heals the character, right? What's the point of over healing more, I guess, right? That makes sense to me. We're going over the skills now for a bit. If he like in details, I guess, like advanced skill review, because most of you guys, whoever is watching this, technically, I have like a basic Bard video and Bard interview. This one's more like going deeper into like spec bards and skills that they utilize because you're spec. How do you utilize more attack buffs? Those are the stuff that you want to kind of get into when you are serious about providing better buffs to everyone and be more efficient. Okay.
바드가 이론적으로는 이렇게 딱이
Those 5 skills are the marking skills. As you guys know, marking skills is very important. It's mandatory for bards where it gives you 10% additional damage to the boss, right? You can't really use Rhapsody as a marking skill. If you are playing spec bard, you kind of lack in saving your teammates, right? Because the cooldown's longer for shields, etc. All that stuff. You have to use something like a Rhapsody to have additional skill for you to utilize to save teammates. Because saving teammates is just as important as giving them a lot of buffs. So you both used the Note Bundle and Stigma as well, but they're not very good. What's a Note Bundle? I've never seen that. The hell is that, dude? I've never seen that skill before. Oh shit. there it is. The marking. Oh, it's in the very end.
그런 스킬이 되긴 하는데
Oh. So it said this particular skill can't have 100% uptime even if you have the highest cooldown gem. Same thing for Stigma. It's an install, so it's gonna take a while, and then it's not going to have 100% uptime due to the long cooldowns. So those two are very useless skills for marking. So we're filtering out some of the skills. Nice. So we have Sound Shock and Harp. Oh, okay. So for Sound Shock, you can keep up 100% of the time, even if you're spec bard, because the additional explosion stays there for a long time. And the tedious part is you have to press that skill on every cooldown so that to keep the marking buff up 100% of the time.
그래서 제가 요즘에 쓰는 마킹 세팅이 하프 1마킹인데 100%에 가까운 업타임을 갖고 있기는 해요.
Right, almost 100% uptime. So the harp fires it for you. I like the harp too, cause it regens your bar as well.
그래서 지금 마킹 보면은 한 2초 정도 비었고.
So it empties about 2 seconds of marking time. To continue the discussion of the Sound Shock being able to disadvantageous by rotating every time, is you just noticed the Prelude of Storm is very important. It fills half the bubble, right? So you have to rotate that. But if you're rotating Sound Shock and Prelude of Storm at the same time, it's gonna get janky. So let's say both skills are up at the same time, you have to use Prelude of the Storm. And by the time you're using Prelude of the Storm, your marking buff is gone, and you have to land the Sound Shock on top of that, right? So there's so much risk on top of everything. So as for a live battle, right? Considering all the risk based on not landing your Sound Shock, etc., the cooldown of Sound Shock and other skills aligning, with all those variables combined, the harp's empty time frame that he has for 2 seconds is not as bad as I think. It's probably better for overall uptime on like live battles.
뭐 이제 특화 바드가 가장 그 아이코닉한 스킬이 부앙부앙이잖아요. 슈퍼 스피드.
That bong bong. So the W skill, the wind and music, the E skill, the guardian Rhapsody of Light, and the guardian tune on the A skill. So if you use the bong bong skill on the W, it fills up a lot of bubbles, right? However, what's the problem here, right? If you go bong bong, it gives you no shields. E skill, it does give a lot of shields, it does some shield, but it's very like Rhapsody of Light has limitations for sure. Guardian Tune, there's a CC immune to it. The cooldown's very long. From what I've seen, it was 22 seconds. That's a long time. Yeah, it's like 22 seconds. When you use that, it's like you can't rotate it as fast as you can. So you kind of use it on a dangerous situation where you're going to take a big hit or take a CC hit. If those are the defensive skills, if everyone doesn't get hit and doesn't need shield, that's fine because no one gets hit, right? People do get hit because they're not like pro gamers, as I said. You will need to switch Bong Bong to shield to provide just additional bit of shield, right? So from this point, you do get it because like you do have to give shield sometimes because they do get hit on some of the smaller attacks and they do snowball up out of control and it's pretty bad, right? So when you turn that into a shield skill, oh, could you use that? See how much bubble we get though? Is it half? Let's see the difference real quick. Yeah, it's like almost half. But let's try with the shield one with the legendary wealth rune. Yeah, it's way less if you guys see it. It's so much more. But the thing is, the amount of shield that you need to provide to the team, you need to give at least some shield because everyone's gonna die, right? You don't want your teammates to die, so you gotta carry them with shields, right? There are cases where you have to use the shield skill. You know, you have to use it for some reason, right? To protect them. So to go to the next topic, since you have to switch into the shield to make it more balanced and make it more safe, you need more gauge gain skills, right? And that's why he utilizes a Sound Holic, where the Sound Holic has another tripod where it turns the laser green, increases the amount of meter gain with that skill. But however, you gotta land all that skill in. I mean, it's enough. So it does cover that amount. Look how much it filled up. It's a lot. Because if you use the sound shock, you won't have to keep on using the sound shock, right? So you won't be able to use Sound Holic at all because you need to keep rotating sound shock. This is also why he uses harp for marking. So you put a harp down so that you have enough time to use the Sound Holic to get your meters. So it's very organized. Do you use Sound Holic if you use Bong Bong though? If no one gets hit?
네, 둘 다 쓸 수 있죠.
Right. So you can use both of them to gain even more meter. Nice. So if you use Bong Bong plus Sound Holic and everything else, you can fill up 3 bubbles within 20
seconds to 90. I mean 19.
19 to 20 seconds. Holy shit. That's fast. That's 3 bubbles in 19 to 20 seconds, guys. Jesus. That's almost the same time as like Ignite Sword to get the full gauge, right? So you kind of match it up.
그리고 그 특화 받으면서 좀 많이 받는 질문 중 하나가 항상 부앙부앙 쓰고 맞는 파티원들은 이거 힐로 살려주면 안 되냐는 질문도 많이 받는데.
Yeah. So let's go to the question again. Again, when he does his POV streams, people ask him, "Oh, so why don't you just use Buang Buang and use heal to heal your party mates?" And the answer to that is the heal also has a cooldown of 20 seconds, and A skill Guardian Tune, which is another care skill, is also 20 seconds. So it's like the cooldown doesn't kind of add up. And at the same time, if he thinks that the party mates are getting hit way too many times, he switches to Swiftness Bard. However, if one particular person gets hit too many times, you will not want to waste your bubble to heal just him up. And that was me because I'm a gun lancer. I just get hit way too many times. That's why sometimes when we are doing a proc, they tell me to eat a potion because I'm the only one who has low HP. So I got rip bozo, you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to, convert to Swiftness Bard, you kind of use Spec Bard for someone who doesn't get hit as much, like Saint or like Zeals, right? And then they utilize the buffs to them. It's better as an efficiency as a team instead of like using the bubble to heal me. Yep. If you play Spec Bard, you get a little bit sensitive on the raid because if something goes wrong in a raid, you keep asking yourself, is it because I got Spec Bard? I actually believe that because yesterday, so this morning, I went to a Guardian raid with the Spec Bard. I feel that I felt that my teammate was mad at me because I played Spec Bard. And maybe it's exactly the reason why what he has just explained. The shield care is really bad, the stagger is really bad, the attack buff and the Guardian tunes cooldown so long, so I don't know when to give it to them at the right time. Let's say I use the attack buff when the Guardian's running away. I literally wasted my buff, and then they're just playing without any buffs at all. If I was playing Swiftness, which more uptime because you rotate your skills much faster. So I'm literally giving no shield, no heal, and I'm giving like the 3 bubble. It's really good at 3 bubble to provide additional damage, but I really felt like I wasn't giving them proper care as a support. Those are the disadvantageous things of a Spec Bard because you're basically trying to almost min-max the damages. I min-max damage on the attack buff while throwing away some of the care stuff alone. Additional thing about Spec Bard is that why it's way harder is for Swiftness Bard. I'm a perfect example, guys. When you guys see me Bard, I just don't give a shit, man. I just press all the buttons. I just spamming all the buttons like Pepega chat. Like, the Guardian, like the Rhapsody of Light, spam my shield, spam my buffs. It's just a bunch of uptime. Like it's a short cooldown, right? That's what I'm doing. If I do that, I literally provide all the buffs, and when I have the 3 bubble, I just call for 3 bubble, etc. All that stuff like that, right? However, for Spec Bard, it's a little harder because you can't do that. You have to fill up the bubble as fast as you can, and you have to dodge the patterns. You also have to know when your DPS classes know when they like to DPS, know when they're rotating their skills. You have to be very keen on these kind of things to play the class properly, like to play the build properly. This also, listening to him, made me realize that I get why people hate Spec Bard because they just suck at it. People would hate my Spec Bard because I fucking suck, right? But people like Lustboy Spec Bard because he's good. That's like he dodges all the patterns. He knows when people are attacking. He knows when people are getting hit. And utilize the skills accordingly, you provide more stuff because the efficiency increases, right? Since if you're attacking like every 5 seconds or every 20 seconds, you can just provide the best out of the concentrated buff. When someone like me, I just Pepega chat and spam all the skills and I just like land the darts, right? You have to throw. I guess like if you put it into terms of I throw like 10 darts. And if like 1 or 2 out of the 10 darts that I throw, it lands, it's good. But Spec Bard, you only have like 1 or 2 darts to throw, and you have to land it every time. Again, 3 months ago, I said that I hate Spec Bard, and I still hate Spec Bard. I hate playing with them because DPS lacks so much if you play with Spec Bard. And I understand why. It's because they're playing Spec Bard like Swiftness Bard, where they just spam skills. Spam skill like cutscenes and shit, right? It just get no buffs at the cutscene, and then we just play as if like he doesn't exist. You know what I mean? I think I get it though.
딜러들이 스펙바드랑 했을 때 가장 그 기분이 안 좋을 때가 쉴드 케어를 못 받을 때거든요. 이거 보면은 아브렐 그 1렘 패턴 중에 이게 있잖아요. 이거 한번 싹 긁고 그 뒤로 충격파 발사되는 거 있죠.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right. I see. So you saw that skill, right? So Lustboy, so all entropy classes who are behind him, boss has a specific pattern that attacks the back, right? Lustboy knows that specific pattern and uses a Rhapsody on all entropy classes who are behind that in that situation. Something like Faust, right? Faust is always there and he always gets hit, right? So Lustboy goes that, oh wait, he's gonna get hit, so I'm just gonna use a Rhapsody on him. That's how it works. So Spec Bard is something that is requires high skills, and if you actually utilize the high skills, people will know that you're a really good Bard. So Spec Bard to me to me, it feels like it's a very, very hard, tough class, like a tough class, for you to do, that no one can really, not everyone can do. But if you actually do it, if you have the crazy skills for it, you're probably aware of like all the boss's patterns, like all the DPS's movements, all that stuff. You utilize those skills. You concentrate on those skills so that all the burst classes have the biggest maximum big juicer damage, right? And that's going to lead up to a much fun game, right? I think that's very rewarding because it's pretty good. It's a rewarding way to play because sometimes when you're a support player, I enjoy giving a real big buff to my teammates, and I see the bar just melt, right? That's a good feeling. Like that's like the real fun part about me, and like why I play support is because I just like supporting people, and then if they play really well, I feel really good about it. Like that's why. I don't know, some of you guys who are playing support, I don't know why you guys play, but main reason why I play it is that kind of stuff. And if I play better, I can see the bar melt even more, right? So those are the stuff I kind of was thinking of when I was playing with some of the streamers yesterday for a con normal. I kind of felt bad that I played bad, but it really felt like the bars were melting, and even though it was like the first time for me playing SPEC, it felt fun though. It felt more fun than just playing Swiftness, because Swiftness, all you need to do is just have 100% uptime, and it's not that hard. You just spam the skills at the right time. So as he also said, Lost Boy saw in chat like how rewarding is it, right? If you play Swiftness Bard, no one's gonna say, oh shit, what are these numbers, right? You actually see change of numbers if you play Spec Bard because it increases so much of the efficiency of the spec points that you have. The 3 bubble Yongmang, right? It's some big stuff. It's a big damage buff. Whenever they get that, they just go like, they just see the change in numbers. So it does feel rewarding for someone like me, again, as if like I really like playing with other people, and I want to support it, and I want to change their numbers.